Hey, thanks for joining me today. This screencast is about a new control found in the 2010 Volume 1 release of the ASP.NET toolset called the WebExplorerBar. So by way of example, let's take a look at what we'll be building within this screencast. The Explorer bar is basically like what you are used to seeing in Outlook. And so you can come through here and have multiple nested relationships within the bar. And you can see here there's some animation that happens, and you can have control over the layout and the icons that show up and everything. And I'll kind of take you through the basics of working with this control. Now, something I also did was worked with the client-side API so that when I clicked on an item, it just appended the current text with clicked. So I'll kind of take you around the basics of the control so you can get comfortable working with it since it's a brand new control. So to begin here, we just have a plain ASPX page here. Nothing's been added to it except for the script manager. I'll come over to the toolbox and drag a Web Explorer bar onto the page. And basically what it'll do is create markup like this. I'm going to change the ID here for Web Explorer bar, which happens to be web. And I'm going to flesh out some of this markup here. So let me add some things in, and then we'll discuss what's been added to the page. So here's the updated markup for the control, and probably the most interesting thing here in the beginning is to see how the groups have been created. So you'll notice that within the groups section we have the Explorer bar group, and then from in there we have a collection of items, and you can create an Explorer bar item. So we have the main group, which is group 1, and then the child item. But you can go recursively down and add items into an Explorer bar item and continue to go down. So you can see this is where we have the grandchild. So again, you can go as deep as you need to, but this shows you how to just begin to set everything up. So we have a group up here and we have a group down here, each one with a child, and then the first one just with a grandchild. Now I changed the animation duration from what it is out of the box because the default behavior is kind of the slow sort of easing type of animation, and I wanted it to pop a little bit faster. And so I changed the duration. This defaults to 500 milliseconds, so I changed it to 200 milliseconds, and instead of easing I changed it to linear. And so this gives it a nice nearly immediate slide out type of effect for the bar. Now, the one last thing that I want to do is add a client event here. So you can say client events, and then the item click will point this over to a function called item click. And so this will simply run a function when any one of these items is clicked, and you can see how you can begin to work with the client-side object model. Let me go ahead and update the markup to include that script, and we'll discuss that as well. So here's the body of the script for the item click function. The arguments that are passed in are the sender and then an args class. Now the sender is just the bar itself, the Explorer bar. So you can get the elements ID and other things off of that. From the arguments, what we'll do is look at the arguments and ask for the Explorer bar item. So whichever Explorer bar item you've clicked on, the current one, is what will be added into the event args at that point. So then we'll just take that item and call set text by getting the text and just appending a dash click to it. So this isn't something you'd want to necessarily do in the real world, but you kind of get an idea of how you can interact with the client-side object model. What I'll do is set a breakpoint here, and let's debug this page, and you can see what else is available within that item class. So let's run this page, and once it renders out the bar, I can click on an item, and now it breaks down here. And so if we take a look at the item, you can see that there's a number of methods available. You can get the CSS class, the anchor element, child item, find out the count. There's just all kinds of things that you can do in order to interact with the items. So there's a pretty rich client-side object model available for an Explorer bar item. But again, what we'll do is just set the text to whatever the current text is with the clicked appended to it. So let's take a look at that. And so now you can see group 1 dash clicked. So there you go. That's the basics of getting started with the Web Explorer bar.
Infragistics. On the web at infragistics.com.